Hi, welcome to our home. Come on in.
Hi there, I'm Jim Croak.
And I'm Patricia Croak. And we did a renovation with Big Bear. We purchased this apartment from a woman who had lived here since the apartment was built. So it was about 25 years. The apartment was in great shape. We loved the view. The view is what we were really drawn to. But the apartment was a bit dated. The style was a bit dated. The kitchen was closed off, so it didn't take as much advantage of the view. And there were just some things we wanted to update before we actually moved in.
Well, we were originally introduced to Big Bear by a designer that we had hired. And the person we met was Marco. In our first meeting with him, it became clear that he was super knowledgeable, very experienced. And we left with a lot of confidence. I think, in fact, before we left, we concluded and we told him that he was the person for our job. And we felt like through the process, not only did we get great service and fantastic results, but we have someone who's a friend and who we can look to help us in the future if we ever have follow-on issues.
Yeah, and I remember at our first meeting with Marco, what was so great was we explained to him that we had a very tight timeline to get the renovation done. We knew it was a tall order, but he assured us that he could work within the time frame that we set out, which is actually something set out by our building. But he was very clear on things that we could and could not do during that time frame, which we really appreciated. He was upfront with us the entire time about any possible issues that could arise. And then if any issues did arise, they were really upfront with us. And we just kind of problem solved quickly to get everything done. So we started just wanting to redo the floors, and that within 5 minutes expanded into wanting to redo pretty much everything. So we had the ceilings redone, we had the floors redone, we had the one wall taken down to open up the kitchen and have it be an open concept space. We had the primary bathroom, primary bedroom redone, the powder bath. Everything was taken down to the studs and rebuilt, essentially.
There was a very involved process where someone had to figure out how to have the venting on the stove work correctly in an environment where there were limitations within the building in terms of it's not built in a way where it enables the venting to actually leave the unit. It was something that actually befuddled not only the designer, but her team and some other number of people. But Marco came up with what turned out to be a workable and very efficient solution. And that was kind of critical because the stove and all the large pieces of the venting already had been installed. And without that solution that Marco came up with, we would have otherwise had a problem.
In the past 22 years, we've done a number of renovations in houses we had lived in other states. And, good and bad experiences. I have never had such clear communication and follow through, and there was no lag time on any of the subcontractors that had to come in. Marco was really, really on top of things. The project manager we had was very on top of things. At one point during the project, she had to step aside because she was having some surgery on her arm, and Marco stepped right in and it was seamless. We had no delays in getting the project completed. And I was really kind of shocked by that and very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and when we needed to speak with Marco, he was always available. If he wasn't available that minute, we would get a message back from him indicating when he would get back to us, and it was always very promptly. And also, when he was not here, like as Patricia mentioned, his team members also were very good at communicating, and it was clear that he was always intimately involved and kind of responsible for, and kind of the good result that we got.
So this renovation that we did with Big Bear, one of the things we really love, and actually the original reason we decided to do the renovation was for the floors. These before were a sort of a red oak, very small planks, and they were a little bit beat up because they were almost 25 years old. So we put in this vinyl plank flooring, which enabled us to work on a time, within our time frame that was very tight because it went down right over the original floors. And I think it came out so beautifully. It looks exactly like white oak, which is what we thought we were going to get, and it is indestructible. And as you come into the space, you can see we did it throughout the entire apartment, including in the kitchen. Here in the kitchen, this had been its own closed room with a very small pass-through over the sink. And we really wanted to open it up, but we didn't know if that was possible. But Big Bear worked with us. They worked with the building and they were able to figure out how they could, take the wall down. There were some plumbing issues inside this area, but they were able to work through all that. They sort of shifted the opening here a little bit to make it more appealing looking. And yeah, it came out beautifully. We also had the ceilings raised a couple of inches, right?
Yeah, I think 8 inches or so, 8 or 10 inches.
And we had all of these hi-hats put in. Previously, there had been no, integrated lighting in the ceiling. We also there was a lot of molding going on. And Big Bear suggested it might seem a little cleaner if we took it down. So we had all the molding taken down and the walls were redone. And everything was painted this nice, crisp, clean white, which we love. And yeah, and if you come through here, this is the living area. It's really all one big room, but this is the living area. And yeah, I think it came out really nice. And we really wanted everything to sort of flow out to the view. The view is sort of the big draw here. And again, the floors just kind of take you right out and really complement the view and keep everything that sort of light, beachy look that we were going for. Come on into the primary suite. And here we are in the primary suite. The walls were totally redone, the ceilings, the lighting, the floors again. And there were a few little minor changes I feel like we made here and there, but most of it is, the same structural things we did throughout the rest of the space.
Yeah.
And then you can come see our beautiful primary bathroom. This was a real challenge for us because I had my heart set on a freestanding sort of sculptural soaking tub. And Marco kept explaining to me, he was very patient, he had to explain to me several times why that was not gonna be able to, to happen, because we had to keep the drain where it was. Otherwise it was gonna require them to jackhammer through concrete and change the pipes and everything underneath. And we just didn't have time in our schedule for that. So he was really good, really patient about explaining this to me repeatedly. And we were able to pick a tub that is a soaking tub, but it's obviously more of a built-in style that had the drain where it needed to be. Marco's team installed this beautiful herringbone marble floor. I think it looks really beautiful. And I love the sort of mixture of the classic stone, but with the modern layout of the herringbone pattern. I think that looks really great. Welcome to our powder room. I think it's really beautiful. And again, we have these like really unique marble floors that Big Bear laid perfectly for us. And they were really great about things like, advice on exactly where to place the outlets, where to place all the little pieces. I don't really know how to decide things like that, but they gave us a lot of really good feedback with all their experience. I think just knowing what was going to look best and what would be best for the space. But I think it came out really beautifully. The final results are fantastic. I think this place speaks for itself. It's so beautiful. And everything was just done kind of to a very high standard. I remember when we had just moved in and the project manager came by and she was unhappy with the painting. And she walked around the entire space with a pencil, circling things on the wall that she felt were flawed. And I was sort of freaking out because it was freshly painted and she had this pencil that she was going around with. But sure enough, the painter came back the next day. The complaints that the project manager had about the painting were extensive, and it got redone, and she hired a different painter to do it. She brought in a different painter than the one who had originally done it. And in the end, it was just perfect. I mean, not a single blemish on any wall. And that was sort of the standard that I feel Big Bear brought to every aspect of the reno, from the electrical, the plumbing, just everything. Marco kept saying to us, I want you to be happy. If there's anything that comes up, please let me know. Even if it's months after we're finished here, just let me know what's going on. And, you know, that, again, I feel like that's a pretty rare position for a builder to take, in my experience.
Yeah, I think it's something, you know, he told us he would stand behind his work, but it became clear to us that he really did. And this type of, you know, service above and beyond was, you know, just left you with a very satisfied feeling.
We've had good experiences in the past with renos and building, and we've had not so good experiences. But even the good experiences we had before working with Big Bear were nothing like our experience with Big Bear. It was shocking in a good way.
Yeah.
What a pleasant experience it was.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, this combination of, you know, again, Marco's, you know, kind of a superstar, and he has this personality and experience and communication skills that are exceptional, but it's also the professional capability and the team of people, everyone that shows up.
Everyone was skilled. Everyone was highly skilled.
Also skilled, pleasant, respectful of your home.
Clean. Everybody
Everything
cleaned up
was
after
always
themselves.
clean and, you know, kind
Huge.
of organized. Unlike we've even seen work again done in our building where, you know, it's whatever, we don't say anything, but it's like, you know, things are left like a, you know, kind of a bit of a mess somewhere. And it's like, you know, some of the staff of the building has to, you know, help kind of keep it organized. It was never the case with Big Bear. They were, you know, Marco has assembled a, you know, a terrific team and people who are capable, personable, reliable, and professional and very respectful of your home. And so that's, this one made the whole experience so seamless. I
remember the first day that the workers came back, the first day after we had moved in, and then the project manager arrived in the afternoon. She kind of gathered everybody together and gave them this little speech that had been kind of going on in my head all morning, but I was not going to say anything. But she was like, listen, this is no longer a building site. This is now someone's home. And we need to treat this as though we are working in someone's home, not a building site. And that was kind of all it took. And everything got cleaned up and everybody was very different when they showed up the next day. And I just appreciated that so much. I mean, they were anticipating our needs before we even had to ask for, you know, any changes. We would absolutely recommend Marco and Big Bear to anyone. And in fact, we have recommended him to some people already. We had a little issue with, this was another thing. We had a little issue one day with 2 of the guest room showers. We had guests, we had never used the showers. Someone had come out from Big Bear to adjust something in the showers, and then the house guests showed up. And when they went to use the showers, unbeknownst to us, they were leaking and there was a flood in the apartment below us, which we didn't know about. The owners of the space below came up and let us know what was going on. And on a Saturday at maybe 4 in the afternoon, I called Marco. He called me back within 10 minutes and he came over here that evening and fixed the problem. And then he spoke to the owners of the unit downstairs and assured them that he and his team would make any repairs necessary to, you know, fix their space. And I think that made a huge impression on our neighbors, and our neighbors are in the market to do some remodeling, and they seem, you know, very interested in working with Marco. So yeah, we would absolutely recommend him to anyone.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I'd say unconditionally.
Yeah.